Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We have some breaking news coming out of Washington tonight as Ephesians Prysock, cornerback from Arizona, has officially made his commitment to the Washington Huskies, following Jedd Fisch, as a handful of other guys have done already. And again, this is what Jedd Fisch knew he had to do, or what everyone, I guess, knew he had to do. Inheriting this program in the way Kalen DeBoer left it, he was going to need to try to go as quick as he could in this portal, get the talent out of this portal that still remains. And honestly, you probably suspect he's going to have to take another run at it in the spring because, again, the way this program was left, it was not only were there guys going to leave in the transfer portal, as there always are when a head coach leaves in the way that Kalen DeBoer did, but also you had a lot of NFL draft talent going to the league, and you didn't necessarily have a ton of recruiting, or much of a recruiting base, I should say, come up because Kalen DeBoer, for as good of a coach he was on field, he never really put a huge emphasis into recruiting that high school level, and they were going to have to reload this roster anyway. So, again, Jedd Fisch getting a start on it, knew he had to do it, and they're going to have to do it to put together a competitive team in this upcoming year. Because, again, as much as no one's going to judge Jedd Fisch for his results in 2024, I think at the end of the day, you want to be competitive. You don't want to have a ton of blowout losses, or you want to win probably 7-ish games, I think, if you're Washington. And I think that'd be a good season to start the Jedd Fisch era. And you don't want to end up in one of those situations where losing starts to get contagious. And you look across the landscape, maybe Florida, it feels like it might be getting there a little bit, haven't won a ton of games under Billy Napier and have had some pretty bad losses, I'd say. But again, I think when you look at what Jedd Fisch has done in his past life as a coach, he's very experienced kind of working with a team that might be a little overmatched talent-wise. And again, just given where Washington was put this year, that might be a little bit with this program. But Jedd Fisch has done a good job. Arizona, he picked them up off the ground, got that team rolling very quickly, given how far they'd kind of let it sink under Kevin Sumlin. And I think that gives you a lot of confidence that Jedd Fisch can come around and put this program, I think, on a bit of a faster track than a lot of people think. Because I think you kind of come into this season, people are going to think, oh, this program is going to take a monster step back. And, we'll see. I think Jedd Fisch is very equipped to kind of deal with what's going on, just given his experience at Arizona. And I'm really excited to see what he does, frankly, this year. So, again, before we get too deep into this video, just wanted to thank everyone for all their support, especially the Washington fans, the fans that were following us through the 2023 season as they put together that magical run, and then who continued to follow after Kalen DeBoer left and Jedd Fisch took over. And, that presents a new amount of excitement. It's like Kalen DeBoer never really felt like he was satisfied with any job he'd had previously, even to Washington, and everything felt like a stepping stone. In Jedd Fisch, I think he's coming in to take this job, and if he wants to make it his kind of last stop, I think that's wonderful. And again, with Kalen DeBoer, it didn't matter that it was Washington, whatever. He just felt like a guy who wanted to, what's next? What's next? That's how he thought. It's almost how he recruited the high school level. He obviously built the transfer class that was designed to win a lot of games in 2023, but never really focused too much on what he was doing in high school. So I think Jedd Fisch might have the chance to build a much more sustainable program than possibly what Kalen DeBoer was building at Washington, as much as he struck a little bit of lightning with Penix and those receivers in his 2023 season. So I think Washington fans have a lot to be excited for. And just to get quickly into the player, Ephesians Prysock, I think he's a guy who is kind of fitting that new stereotypical cornerback that you want to see, and most NFL teams want, and college teams want. It's that bigger, longer cornerback. And for being that big and that long, I should say, obviously probably continue to put some weight on at only 190 pounds, but a guy who really moves pretty well for that size. And being a younger guy, obviously only playing as a sophomore last year, really moved well. I thought he did a pretty good job staying in phase with wide receivers and being able to get his hands on footballs. And then obviously he does have that long speed at that size to go run with guys. So again, I think there's a lot of room for him to get better, though, because you kind of look at those longer corners or those bigger, taller corners. It takes some time sometimes for them, just because you kind of think about how much more coordinated, how much more smooth you got to be at that size to be able to move with those shiftier wide receivers. I think it does take time, but again, when those guys kind of hit and grow into what they're supposed to be, you see it with a guy like Tariq Woolen with Seattle. Those guys can be special, and that's kind of the physical traits you want. And if he can continue to build his pure cover skills, because the rest of it's there, ball skills are there, long speed is there. If he can continue to build that pure coverage skill, you might be looking at a really good corner. And again, probably has 2 more years at Washington. So you're looking at a guy who can help this team not only this year, but next year as Jedd Fisch kind of continues to build his way up through this program, recruit the talent from the high school level, and supplement that with the transfer portal, which is no doubt what he's going to try to do. And you saw him recruit at Arizona. If he can recruit Arizona, he should be able to recruit Washington. So again, I think Ephesians Prysock is the type of guy they need to bring in this year. I would be surprised if they don't bring in a handful more guys before the transfer portal kind of wraps up, if you will, in this cycle. And then obviously once it restarts in the spring, I think they're going to be super active. But again, these type of guys need to come in, need to stabilize this roster. And as they stabilize it, I think you're looking at a team that can, again, given what Jedd Fisch has done in his past, win a lot more football games than people think. And if they can win a lot of football games in year one, I mean, look out, because this Washington team, it's a destiny program, or a destination program, I should say. It's not a stepping stone, I don't think. Coming into the Big Ten, especially with being in that Power 2, I'd say now, with the conferences, I think this is a program you can win a lot of games at. And if Jedd Fisch can get it rolling and build something sustainable, I think you got a lot to be excited for out in Seattle. So again, as you guys know, we love Jedd Fisch. Think he was a great hire. Remember him from his time at Michigan developing quarterbacks. Man, perfect fit. I think he's going to have a much better first season than people think. And if he does, I think that really sets him up to start rolling in the future years and be a really, really good team. But again, that's probably all we had today. Thank you guys for listening. And I'm sure we'll have a lot more Washington news coming up, obviously, as Jedd Fisch continues to build this roster out.